Eddie, firstly, can we just check on some of the injured players? Matt Targett and Ryan Fraser, will they be available for Sunday?
Ryan, we hope, will be fit and available. Had a back spasm late last week, so it was a late withdrawal from the game. Has trained this week, and Matt will make a very late decision.
Any other injuries? Anyone else you're worried about?
No, I don't think so. I think we're okay.
Transfers then, are you any closer today to a breakthrough?
I'd love to change my my answer to this. No, not currently. We're still working hard behind the scenes to try and make something move in the market for us, but no news imminently. No.
I think you said earlier this month that it'll be a small pool of players that you're trying to recruit from. Have you had to widen the search in recent weeks, or are you sticking to the approach that you've had all summer?
Well, it's a small pool of players, but not through us not widening the search. It's because there's not a huge amount of players that will make our group better, and that's a compliment to the players we have. I think we've got a really good squad. Certainly, I'd love to add someone that can make us better, but that is very difficult. So yeah, our search has been high and wide and far-reaching, but I don't expect the pool of players that we have to pick from to change between now and the end of the window.
2 weeks to go in the transfer window. Will you be glad and relieved when the end arrives and the window shuts?
I think there's always an element of, I'm trying to describe the emotion, not relief, that's the wrong word. But there's a feeling, right, that's the group and you have to work with. And then you can really focus, not that I haven't, but really focus on the day-to-day, the coaching, the teams we're playing, the preparation for the games. That's your sole focus, and that's how I want it to be. When you have the window there open, you're always being pulled and pushed around in different directions because it's such an important part of the job. So, but while it's open, there's always a chance that you can adapt and move if you need to, especially with injuries. So that's a good thing to have in the back of your mind.
And just before I ask you about Manchester City, Simon Smith, the head of goalkeeping, left the club recently. Will you look to bring someone else into the goalkeeping coaching department to work alongside Adam Bartlett? Yeah,
we will look to bring someone in for sure. How that position looks, I don't know at this moment in time. I think we've advertised to try and bring the best person into the football club. I think I've said before, I don't know if I've said it in this environment, pay tribute to the work Simon did over many, many years. I think he was outstanding for the club. So it's very sad that he's left, but hopefully we can find the right person to fill his position.
Manchester City won 4-0 here last season, and then the game at their place at the end of the season was 5-0, though it could have been quite different because you had some big chances in the match. But how much would a good performance and a good result, if you can get one, be a way to measure just how far your Newcastle team has come?
Yeah, we'd love a very good performance. We'd love a result to match that performance. This is the ultimate test for me. These games against Manchester City, Liverpool, they're the real barometer of our quality, really, and we want to narrow that gap between us and the top teams of the division. Now, last year, the results were hard on us against Manchester City. The two games, I thought they were tighter than they look on paper, because they don't look great on paper. But the games were difficult. They were both different, of course, home and away. I thought in the home game last year, there was bits of our performance that were very, very good. But you need a bit of luck. You need to be very clinical when your chances come, and probably in the two games we weren't that.
Okay.
Eddie, obviously January was a difficult window in terms of what you had to do hands-on. In many ways, has this window been even more frustrating where we're sat right now with a couple of weeks to go and yet to add in the forward area?
I think I try and be positive, Keith, in these situations. I think let's look at the business we have done, and we haven't added huge numbers of players, but I think we have added quality. I think that's the key thing. I think it's very easy to recruit players, different names, and everyone gets excited about those names, but the reality is the outcome is what you're left with. It's how good the team is, it's how strong the squad is, and I think the three players we've added have definitely added to the team, but also added to the group off the pitch as well, in terms of the team spirit and mentality of the group. So very positive on the business we've been able to do. And of course, while there's still time, we're still looking to add the other way.
Can I ask you about a name, João Pedro, the one we've been speaking about all week? Are you able to give us any intel there?
Nothing, Keith. No, no intel, unfortunately.
In terms of outgoings, anyone closer to potentially moving on?
No, I'd be reluctant to sort of look into outgoings at this moment in time. I think maybe in the last few days of the window, then we may turn our attentions if there's players we feel aren't going to get the minutes that they want or need. But certainly as we sit here now, preparing for the Manchester City game, there'll be no movement before the game.
And of course, Darren Neal's the new chief executive starts, I think, in the next few days. How much are you looking forward to working with him, and how will you work with him moving forward? Yeah,
very, very much so. Looking forward to building a relationship with him. I've met him once. In terms of how the dynamic will work between us all, I'm not sure at the moment because it's because he's not started and we haven't engaged in those conversations. But I think someone of his experience and his knowledge will only help us hopefully become a more efficient in every way of working. So yeah, I'd like to welcome him to the football club and hope he has a successful time here.
How much do you think your defenders are looking forward to pitting their wits up against Erling Haaland on Sunday? Yeah,
I think I'd always say to them, judge yourself against the best. I think it's a challenge to be attacked and relished rather than feared. I think our defenders are in a good place at the moment. I think as a team we've defended well. There's always room for improvement, but I think this is as I said earlier, the ultimate test. And I think not just as the back four because of the team in front. You know, we have to protect our defenders, but we also have to give Manchester City a threat the other way and a problem the other way. We can't be too passive in what we deliver. So it's a good game at a really early stage of the season to see how far we've come as a team.
Morning, Eddie. Just starting out of left field completely.
Sound like you.
I thought you'd say that. The Amazon documentary, obviously All or Nothing's been going on with Arsenal at the minute. A lot of rumours doing the rounds that Amazon have their eyes on Newcastle United next. It's all supposition, I suppose, but how would you ever feel about having the cameras behind the scenes here at Newcastle?
You're setting me up here, aren't you? I don't know. It's a difficult one. I think football traditionally, if you go back many, many years, has always been everything that goes on behind the scenes has been private. Now that seems to be changing with the various documentaries we've had, not just in football, but various other sports. So we're opening the door slightly to the day-to-day running of things. I don't know. In terms of my thoughts would be to try and keep things away from the media spotlight, because I think you're in the spotlight enough, and you want sort of your general working to be with the players on either a one-to-one basis or between me and the team. But with the way the game's going, as I say, we have to be adaptable. So I've tried to not give you an answer, really.
You did a good job on it too.
Thank you.
Just on Joe Linton, I don't know if you saw the story this week about him inviting a supporter round to his house after seeing a tattoo of himself on this supporter's chest. What does that say, not just about Joe Linton, but the types of human beings that you have here as football players?
Yeah, I did see the story through Lee, really. I think it speaks volumes for Joe, the kind of guy that he is. He loves the supporters. It's a genuine affection and love, and I think they've built a really strong bond from quite a difficult start point when you go back a period of time. But I think that affection is two-way. I think they see how hard he works on the pitch and his commitment to the team, but also through gestures like that. I think he's a very open and giving person, and he gave his time to someone that's got a permanent reminder of Joe on his body now. So, yeah, fair play.
Lucky supporter anyway. Just on the transfer front, I won't ask you about any names, but I just want to know if you can give us an insight into what this summer window has been like for you personally behind the scenes, would you say?
Very similar to other transfer windows. I don't think it's been any different. You spend a lot of time watching players, watching different leagues, watching all sorts of, you build your knowledge through time, and also we have a recruitment team working incredibly hard behind the scenes that put a lot of hours in trying to identify the right players for us. There's a whole body of work that goes in, but it's also very quickly changing environment as well, especially as you get closer to the end of the window. So we've had to be very adaptable. you start a window with one plan, you end the window with another plan. That's how it's always been, and probably will continue to be.
And just on City, have you ever encountered a young striker like Erling Haaland in terms of his characteristics, in terms of his attributes, and of course his goal-scoring record as well at such a young age?
He's obviously an outstanding talent, there's no doubt about that. You see some of the goals he scored, he makes it look effortless. Physically, he's very good as well. So I think he definitely will change Manchester City as a team from a team last year without really a recognised number 9. They didn't really play with that player, but they became very difficult to play against because of it, because they overloaded you in certain other areas of the pitch. Now they have a focal point, a predator, someone that will score goals given half a chance. So we have to be aware of that, of course. We have to try and keep the team quiet and stop the supply to him. That's the task we have.
And I know we talk about the fans and the atmosphere at St James's Park, but how much extra importance does a hostile, a feverish, almost a bear pit of a St James's Park take on when you're playing arguably one of the best sides in world football right now?
Yeah, I think it's a must really for us to get a result. I think we need to create the kind of atmosphere that opposing teams on a regular basis don't want to play in. And I think we've done that unbelievably well. The supporters have backed us. They've hopefully enjoyed what the team's given them, and they've responded. But in games like this, they're very unique games. We're going to need that right from kick-off, but we're going to need to bring the energy ourselves. We're going to need to keep the crowd in the game for as long as we can.
And just finally from me, I hate to be that one to remind you on this one, but no wins for you as a manager in, I think it's 10 attempts against Pep Guardiola. Do you feel like the way this Newcastle United side are playing right now represents your best chance of finally getting a win?
Why did you have to bring that up?
Sorry, I know.
Yeah, I think... Sorry, what was your question again? I got sidetracked by the initial bit.
in terms of how Newcastle are playing at the minute, no goals conceded so far this season. Do you feel like it represents your best chance of getting a win so far in your career over Pep?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd say we're in a good place. We're confident, but that needs to be shown in this game. As I say, they're unique games against Manchester City and Liverpool. They're I think, a long way ahead of the other clubs. So we need to be at our very best, and we need a little bit of luck as well. I think that's clear.
Top man. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Eddie Thorne here from BBC North. You've sort of mentioned it there, but are Man City pretty much in a league of their own?
I wouldn't say a league of their own, no. I think Liverpool last year pushed them very hard. I think it was a really intriguing battle between the two clubs on various levels, not just in the league. But I think they're elite. You know, they're so well coached, but they've got elite players as well, so it's a really good mix for them. I think anyone that plays them, you know, they have been beaten, they are beatable, but we need to bring everything together. It needs to be elite performances from us, and as I said, a little bit of luck as well. You need to take your chances when they come, but we're looking forward to the challenge.
You were talking about players coming in and players going out. I saw some speculation this morning linking Bruno Guimaraes with Real Madrid. Presumably he is a player you definitely do not want to sell.
No, absolutely not. We're trying to build a squad here that we feel can take the club to be successful over the next few years, and we want to build that squad and enhance the group, not take away our best players.
And I know fans, you know, they're always reaching for the moon, reaching for the stars. And you've had to temper their expectations a little bit over who you might get in. What are your own expectations now with 2 weeks left about either how many or who you're getting?
How many is a difficult one, because I think, as I said, it's so changeable, the market. So I'm hopeful we can add a player that can make a difference to us, and that's what we've been trying to do the whole of the window. Time is running out, so hopefully something will drop for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, broadcasters. We'll take dailies and then Sundays. Kicks off. Jordan?
Just on the Bruno question there, being linked with a team like Real Madrid, does that just show the type of special player that you and Newcastle United have got at their disposal?
Yeah, I think it does. Regarding speculation, I've got no problem with that as such. I think it's a compliment to Bruno and how well he's done for us. He's been incredible, I think, and I think he's only going to get better. from this point. So he's a very valuable member of our team.
And just on the transfer window, you mentioned about having a really strong squad. If you weren't to sign a player before the end of the transfer window, would you be happy to continue with the group of players that you've got?
Absolutely. I believe in the group. I said that from the minute I signed here. Now we've made changes to the group since that moment, but my belief in the players is very strong. There's no way of knowing what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, so absolutely I'd go forward with the group.
Cheers.
Eddie, you've been asked about Holland there. I think I saw a stat last week he only had 8 touches in the game and they win 4-0. Is there a danger that you can over-concentrate on one player?
I definitely believe that. I think you can concentrate on a number of Manchester City players individually, and it can probably come back to haunt you because the one you don't prepare for ends up doing something. So I think we prepared for them as a team rather than as individuals. We know what we have to try and do in the game to be competitive. So it won't just be about one player, our build up. It will be about making sure we function as a team and deal with their threats.
Dominic and then Ian.
Just looking at the squad, the majority of your players could probably play in a number of positions. Is that versatility something you feel you've benefited from so far this season, particularly with the injury situation recently?
Yeah, very much so. I think versatility in your squad is hugely important, especially when I look now that we can make 5 substitutions, so that in a game when you need to, either you're chasing a goal or you're trying to defend a lead, versatility of players is massive for us. I do believe we have some players that can adapt, and I think that's the way the game's going. I think those players are actually becoming more valuable as time goes on.
And on the transfer front, would you perhaps prioritise a more versatile player over maybe a more effective player but limited in terms of the positions?
I think each case we take individually. I don't think I can necessarily bracket it like that. We'll take each player on his own merits.
Ian Murta.
Hi Eddie, you're the 2 sides who haven't conceded a goal so far. Is there a temptation to try and play that defensive game to shut them out, or is that almost impossible, and you have to acknowledge that at some stage they'll score and you've got to outscore City?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, looking at their record suggests that they will, they'll have chances to score. I think for us, as I said earlier, we need to defend very, very well as a team, as a group. We need to have a collective idea and then try and implement that idea together. It's not going to work unless you have the collective all working as one. So that's going to be, I think, how we have to approach the game. And like most games we've had against Manchester City in the past, we have had chances the other way. Now, last year we weren't clinical enough with those opportunities, but when they come, we have to make sure we're ready.
Kieran.
Eddie, I think the Spurs are planning to show support from Miguel Almiron on the weekend. Obviously, Jack Grealish made those comments earlier in the summer. I'm not sure if you're aware of them during City's title celebrations. So they don't need any added motivation for a game like this, but are you adverse to using that to get maybe an extra 0.5% off some players, comments others have made?
I've used all sorts of ways to try and motivate my players over the years. I'd never rule anything out. If I felt it was appropriate to use any method that I felt would get extra, not motivation, my players are motivated to play well for Newcastle and for themselves and their families. But if there was a way of doing that, yeah, I'd use it. I'm not going to comment on the situation that you mentioned, but certainly we're highly motivated for the game.
Obviously moving forward, want to keep all the best players maybe in years gone by. Players have seen the club, rightly or wrongly, as a stepping stone. It's a different era now. How important is it that you prove to people like Bruno that the club is continuing to move forward?
Yeah, I think it will in part come down to how well we perform and where the team goes in terms of satisfying players that do very well for us over an extended period of time. Bruno's just started his journey with us. We desperately want him to grow with the team. We want to make the team stronger and to show his qualities even more. That is our aim. But he's done so well in a short period of time. The supporters love him, we love him, and I think he's in a good place.
Okay, Craig and then George.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Kieran referenced Jack Grealish's disparaging comments earlier. Just say, would you have been disappointed if that was your player? It seemed fairly classless thing to do.
I'm not going to get drawn into those comments, Craig. I don't think it's wise for me to do that. We've just got to make sure we turn up and perform to our best levels. Let our football talk for us.
And you, certainly Miguel during the summer, looked very motivated by whatever it was. But you know, he made that starting position his own during the summer. Did you see a change in him from the end of last season going into this?
Not necessarily a change. I think Miggy, if you actually looked at his performances towards the end of the season, he was excellent. He really was. He may not have got the goals that maybe highlighted those performances. Certainly in pre-season he did. I was really, really pleased with the pre-season he delivered. And I think the first 2 games he's had very good games. Again, he hasn't quite got the goals to elevate his performances to another level, but I thought he was probably our standout performer against Brighton. There's so much more to come from Miggy. I think everyone knows how good he is off the ball. He's got an incredible attitude off the ball, and he really epitomises the way that we want to play out of possession. But on the ball, he's done some very, very good things, and I think he's continuing to improve.
George?
Eddie, obviously you signed a new contract recently. Do you ever allow yourself to drift forward to a time when you're standing on the touchline as Newcastle's manager, taking on City as equals?
For me, we're equals now. You know, it's only the results and the performances that will dictate otherwise. So we go head to head with everybody that we play. We respect our opposition, but we don't fear them. That's regardless of who we play. That's the mentality we're going to need, not just now, but for the long term. And then obviously through the performances and the results, you know, whatever happens, we take it and we look to come back and improve.
And you said earlier that you were going to wait in terms of outgoings until you can see how things will shake out. Is that not the problem you're facing the other way around, that clubs are sort of taking a similar thought?
No, because we've let players go that we feel wouldn't play enough football to keep them happy. I think we've got a good balance in our squad currently. Certainly there is an element of probably managers up and down the country waiting and seeing if they can add to the group before letting players go. But I think that's a natural thing at this stage of the window.
Okay, Oscar?
Eddie, without asking about the comments Jack made, have you actually spoken to Miguel specifically this week about them and in the build up to the game?
I've certainly spoken to Miggy. I speak to my players on a regular basis. I haven't broached that subject. I don't think it's something we really need to discuss. I see with Miggy a very happy person, someone who's very content with his football, someone who's in a really good place. He's very positive, and I don't see someone that needs extra motivation. He is what you see. He's an incredible person with a real desire and passion to play football for Newcastle. So no, I'll speak to him about his game and make sure he's prepared in his normal way, and hopefully deliver a very good performance.
There's no danger of maybe his teammates. We saw it in pre-season. Some of City's opposition with Paraguayan teammates of Miggy sort of going out after Jack. It looked that way anyway. Is there a danger that the players could see retribution?
No, we need to play the game with cool heads. We need to have fire in our hearts, but we need to play with discipline. We can't lose that, and I think I'll back our players. We're very good professionals. We need to keep 11 players on the pitch in every game this season.
Okay, and then Martin and Lee finished early.
Been here for 9 months, Eddie, the third time you play City. Does the club feel different to the one you came into? Is it closing the gap slowly on Man City, and is there a lot of what they've done that you can take as pointers for the future?
I'd love to think that we have closed the gap between us and the top clubs. Proof is always in the performances. I'm not going to sit here and say yes we have and make bold statements. I think the proof will be in the performance. Certainly from their game, yeah, they've got loads of elements to their game I love. I enjoy watching them play, and we need to take elements of their game for sure and adapt them, evolve them into our play. But that's not something that you're going to do over weeks. That's a month's thing, because it's very difficult to change your way instantly. But I think we're making progress.
But as a club as well, as the training ground changes and facilities get better and the whole thing, is the way Manchester City have done it over 14 years kind of what Newcastle might see to anyway?
I think certainly there's, when you look at how their club's grown and facilities have improved, I think you go back a few years, Manchester City was very different. I played against them in League One way back as a player. So you look at other clubs change from then to now. It's incredible transformation. Yes, I don't think we're starting from necessarily that point, but we're starting from a point where we needed to deliver better for our players. I think you can see from probably coming here every week that the facilities and everything around the players is changing, and that can only better the club.
Lee Ryder.
And obviously I'll get the message, you don't want to mention players' names or targets, but is there a certain profile of the player you're looking for? I'm just going off what I've read. I'm assuming you're not looking for someone who's going to walk straight into the team. It's someone to sort of challenge and compete for a place.
I think it depends on the position, Lee, to be honest. I think we're looking at everything. Now, if there's a player that we can attract, that we can afford, that all the other things that you need to fall into place, I'd sign the best player that I can. But it needs to fit. It needs to fit everything. So that's with the conditions that we've got, that's proving quite difficult.
Just on Bruno, obviously he come in. It was almost a surprise transfer really in January, because he could have come in the summer. But is another one of them potentially still to come in this window, possibly?
Well, if there was another Bruno, please let us know, because they don't grow on trees. Let me tell you, that was an incredible piece of business, really. Not just as the footballer as well. You've got to consider the person. The person is a brilliant lad who came here when the club was in a relegation, but you have to remember this, with no conditions, no way out, no escape clause, and wanted to fight to keep the club in the Premier League. I thought that showed real human qualities, and he was all in from day one, and I think that's reflected in how well he's done here.
Well, that's perfect for the next question then, because obviously he's not a player that's going to cause you any trouble. We've had players in the past who've almost gone on strike to get a big move, but he's, as you say, he's not that type of guy. He come here when we were staring Championship in the face almost.
Yeah, I think every footballer has different aims and ambitions. I'm sure Bruno's got huge ambitions going forward in his career, and I would embrace that, because he needs to have, because he has the ability, I think, to achieve special things. But I think that's where we've got to try and give him an opportunity and a platform to fulfil those aims and dreams here, and that's going to be important for us.